Hey everybody, it's Barjan. Today we're doing a game review on Prelude Dark Pain. This is a game that just came out onto early access on 7/27/2026. And this game is advertised at about 15 hours, and it's just chapter 1. So this is a developer of Quickfire Games, and the publisher is Fire Squid and Gamer Sky Games. Before I get into the review, I just wanted to go over a couple things first. Mainly, I didn't do enough research into this game because I was so excited about the art, because the game reminded me so much of Darkest Dungeon, which is one of my all-time favorite games, hands down. So I jumped right in, purchased the early access, knowing it was early access, not realizing that the game is only 15 hours, or it's only released 15 hours so far. So I would definitely say I'm a little mad, just because, I don't know, buyer's remorse, I guess. I'm happy that this game is being made. I'm very excited about the art that is in this game. I love how this game looks. But after looking at the roadmap, I have to say, I feel like I really should have waited, and I have a feeling I'm not going to be the only one that this is a sore subject on. But that being said, let's get into the review. Gameplay and mechanics. So the controls for this game is kind of funny. So you can point with the mouse to click where you need to go, or kind of how the best way to describe it is they have two configurations for how to move your characters while you're playing. So if you're looking at this like Final Fantasy Tactics or a chessboard, basically they have two configurations for what WASD means. So it basically is just orientation. Do you want to look at it slightly to the left or slightly to the right? I kind of really appreciated the option of having the choice, but that leads me up to my next point here. So going into camera, the camera is a fixed angle. When you're playing a game like a tactical RPG, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, I feel like not being able to move your camera and spin it is kind of completely unacceptable, and I don't understand why they're doing this. I think it's because the developer is a small crew, a small team, so I maybe they just don't have the resources to kind of make it, or maybe it's coming eventually. But at the moment, I'm not a fan of the camera. It's kind of fixed to one, almost like you're looking at the diamond of the square board, and it's just not doing it for me. So mechanics. The mechanics of the game is it's a turn-based RPG, tactical RPG, built around positioning your party's composition. So who's in your party, where are they located, and a new cool thing that they did in this game, which I really like, and I wish more games did it. Well, more games do it, but not enough. So they're playing height into a factor. So if you have a ranged character with a bow or a gun, and they shoot at a height, it'll do more damage, which is a lot of fun. All right, so talking about the game loop. So this game revolves around the classic tactical RPG loop. You explore the world, take on missions to progress the story, fight turn-based battles, collect resources and equipment. And then you bring those back to your home base and kind of make upgrades, make different equipment at the blacksmith, different things like that. So basically what they did was they took a tactical RPG, so like Tactics, and they kind of put it with almost this free roam style game, which is kind of really cool. So you're walking around the map and you're interacting with events, but you're also, every time you get into a fight, it'll blow up the Final Fantasy Tactics grid of like, okay, pick your party members, and then you do the fight. Graphics and art style. So visually, this game looks really, really similar to Darkest Dungeon, which is what I absolutely love about this game. I love how this game looks. I love the hand-painted look. The characters are heavily stylized and have a lot of personality. I like the environment looks really dark and sinister. Really leans heavy on the medieval fantasy. And its use of the illustrated art style along with isometric presentation blends to create a grim atmospheric world. All that to say, it looks really good, and I wish more games looked like this. Audio and sound design. So this is hit and miss for me. So on one hand, the combat effects and the sound are really good. But on the other, there's no voice acting in this title. And I didn't see any plans for it to be implemented later on. I know it's early access, but I feel like this is a big miss. I mean, back in the day, games used to have you have to read all the words in the chat bubbles, and that was fine for the time, but we're really kind of moving on from that. And I'm not saying that you're doomed to fail if you don't have voice actors or a small studio can't get voice actors, but this just reminds me of an anime called Yu Yu Hakusho, where the main character is literally casted by the director. He stepped in and did the voice actor for the main character for the entire series. I just bring this up because it's not impossible to find random people with the things that you have. What is at your disposal? So where this game shines with the sound is the soundtrack for Prelude to Dark Pain has very strong atmospheric elements. Rather than sticking to one particular style of music, the game uses a dark, cinematic fantasy score that changes depending on what's happening. Exploration and quieter moments lean more towards atmospheric and melancholy pieces, while combat brings in more dramatic and energetic music. The soundtrack was composed by Isaac Montez and Kumi Tenoka. I'm sure I said that wrong. I do apologize. Progression and pacing. So in this game, when you are not pushing the story conversations and plot points forward, you are constantly moving between exploring the world, taking on missions, and fighting tactical battles, and then bringing those rewards back to your base of operations, which is currently in the Blue Nets settlement. Progression isn't just about leveling up, you're also unlocking new skills, improving equipment, developing your heroes, and experimenting with different party compositions. The pacing complements the tactical combat really well because the game gives you the time to prepare and think before throwing you into the next encounter. Between following the story and setting everything up so you don't have a setback in your next encounter, there is time to putz around and figure the game out before things get really hard. Story and value / replayability. The story follows Sorn, a local blacksmith who made a new life for himself, but it all goes wrong one evening when the Ashen Crusade shows up. He is called out to be executed along with his son and his daughter. His wife, who is not at home at the time, was taken by the order already. Sorn struggles to keep his family safe, but you quickly see a dark side to this blacksmith when combat starts and he whips out double daggers. There is clearly more to Sorn than the story has revealed yet. Unfortunately, Sorn and his family are forced into a much larger conflict, and watching the transformation of the character's personality as they open up slowly is what makes the story interesting. As you progress, the game begins expanding beyond Sorn's personal struggles and introduces a larger world filled with war, religion, factions, and characters with their own stories themselves. The side content also does a good job giving some of these characters additional depth, but again, this is just chapter 1, so there's a lot more to see, and I'm hoping they do a good job at it. But regardless, moving on to how I scored all of the categories, and we're going to start with gameplay and mechanics. So this one I gave it a 1 out of 2, simply because the camera, not being able to move that around in a tactical RPG, I don't want to do that. That is not fun for me. I need to see certain things at a different angle. I mean, several times in the game when I was playing, you would take your archer and you'd go to shoot someone, and it would take you like 30 seconds just to click on the thing that you were trying to select just because of the camera angle. And that's just not good. As far as the game loop, it's good. I mean, they do some innovation here where they have the open world part, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that's why it only gets the 1 out of 2. Next on the list is graphics and art style. This was an easy 2 out of 2 for me. This is the whole reason why they got me to get the game in the first place with doing no research, which is obviously my fault. But yeah, I mean, Darkest Dungeon, honestly, when I got the game, I thought Red Hook was the one that made it, and then realized, no, they didn't. It just looks so close. But again, this isn't a bad thing. I love the art direction. I like the graphics and the art style, and not much to say. It's just good. Audio and sound design. This one, again, 1 out of 2. You already know my feelings on no voice acting. Everything else sounds as it should. Music track is good enough, but yeah. All right, going into progression and pacing. This one I gave 1 out of 2 for a couple of reasons. The game itself plays fine. The story itself is good and interesting. There's a couple things towards the end that I'm not going to spoil, but it was kind of like, why did this happen? I mean, I get why, but it was just cheesy and annoying. But other than that, it was more the problem that I had with it. When you're leveling characters, they will have you bring 4 people, you level those 4 people up. But this story battle has all of your characters in it, so if you didn't level all your characters, GG. And that kind of shenanigans has never felt right to me. I just think it's kind of dumb. But, I mean, to each their own. Story and value slash replayability. So this, I feel like, is their strongest part. The story is pretty good. It's compelling. I like Soren as a character. He's definitely a character that they're going to reveal more of, and I feel like he's going to be interesting. Some of his friends are not as interesting, but no game is going to be perfect. But I will say where it loses points, again, I gave it a 1 out of 2. Kind of got ahead of myself on that one. But where it loses the points is replayability. It's early access. It's 1 chapter. It's 15 hours if you do everything. I think it was like 6 hours, and I finished the chapter. It's just, I don't see a reason why I'm going to go back until they release another chapter, or maybe, until it releases. This leads to a final verdict of 6 out of 10 for those who are doing the points at home. And how did we get here? For that, the final thoughts. So for this game, there was more issues than I normally run into with reviewing games. Not that I've been doing it forever, but still. This game is in early access, and I ran into numerous bugs. Nothing game crashing, but I ran into several bugs that were enough to slow me down. So, for example, this game, when you do a battle, it'll say, okay, you can win the battle, or you can win the battle without healing. For some loot, you can win the battle without healing, and this guy can't die, and so on and so on. So what I found was I would do those things it's asking, and they wouldn't give it to me. That is a good amount of time, especially if you're starting battles over again, to just throw down the drain. I just stopped doing them altogether. Again, I know that it's early access and you're supposed to expect this kind of thing, but I've been gaming for a very long time, and I don't typically run into really anything unless you're playing some like alphas and betas and stuff like that. I still think that this is a good game. I think it's going in a good direction. I did not get a good feeling about the roadmap. I think that this game will be completed. I'm not really worried about that. It's just the speed of which it will be completed has me worried. I would say this is a game that you should definitely keep an eye on, but unless you really want to support the team that is making it, I would wait for it to release. That being said, guys, again, I'm Bargin, and have a good one.